What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay Rich. It is Wednesday, November 1st, and we have a loaded 13-game NBA slate. And here are my best bets presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook, your trusted sportsbook for the past 25 years. And as I mentioned, we have a monster slate in the NBA this week. I hope you all have been enjoying the NBA action to start the season. The data sample is still small, but there is definitely some trends we're already finding in the NBA. So let's dive into it right now. As I mentioned, huge slate we have on the docket this Wednesday, and the one game that I am monitoring more than any is this Portland Trail Blazers Detroit Pistons game. I don't know why this line opened at 4, but it's since moved to 3.5. And last night I was tracking it to see where's it going to go. And you can already see now it's going towards the Pistons at minus 3.5, minus 112, plus 102 to the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are playing their third game on the road. The Pistons are returning home. There's a lot of factors that I really like here. And one of the things I wanted to bring up just alone when you look at teams and how they're playing right now, the Pistons got a win at Charlotte. They beat Chicago at home, and then they went on the road and lost to Oklahoma City, but put up 112 points. So they're still scoring well. They're scoring 111, 118, 112 points. And then you go look at Portland, who, again, they got a win against the Raptors. That's fine. The Raptors shot 13% from 3, and they still only lost by 8 points. But you go look at Portland, 97 points, 98 points, 99 points. They're just not scoring enough points. And so when you're talking about a team that can barely eclipse 100 points right now, playing against the Pistons at only a 3.5 point spread, I'm willing to take that all day long. Anthony Simons is out. This team is rebuilding. Then you have Detroit, who is looking much better, and they are dealing with injuries of their own, but their core players, their main guys, are going to be in the lineup and playing lots of minutes. To me, I would take this spread up to 4.5. It's one of the largest edges I have on the slate today. I almost even thought about taking the team total for the Pistons over 108 because I think it's a decent spot. But again, the better play is the spread, in my opinion. You know, the way the Pistons are scoring versus the way the Trailblazers are scoring. Third game on the road, last one of this East Coast swing for them. They will be returning home after that. But I think it's just a perfect storm for the Pistons to get a big win at home. And that's where at 3.5, I think it's a perfect spot for this key number I talked about last week. The key numbers are 2 and 7, and I love in this range where it's only a 2-possession game. It's only a 2-score game to get over that 3.5. So it can still be a close game, and the Pistons can still cover. And that's why I think this minus 3.5 is a great number for the Pistons. My best bet, my favorite play. Now let's get into some of the other games I was looking at. One of the games that I do really like is this Atlanta Hawks Washington Wizards game. And the main reason why I like it, I think, is really because of the Hawks. The Hawks are scoring a ton of points. Now, their team total, even now, since I last checked it and got on to record this, their total is ripping towards the over. I've been projected for about 128.5 points, so still well above this team total. I have the over projected to go over, and as you can see, that line also ripping right now, minus 115. Those are the two numbers I'm looking at. I'm undecided whether I can trust the Wizards to show up in this game. And this is the biggest problem. As much as I like the Wizards to be a team that can allow a lot of points and score on the back end, if you're not playing your best players 30 minutes a game, 32, 33 minutes a game, Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, you can say they're not good players if you don't really believe in them, but they are the best players on the team. And if they're not playing a ton of minutes, that to me could be a reason why they're not going to hit this 114 total they have projected for. Now, they are heavily juiced to the over. And I think you can look back to the game that the Washington Wizards played, game 1 against the Pacers. 142 to 120, a massive game, went way over the total. I think this is what we could be in line for today. You see the Hawks are 8-point favorites. I do have them slightly to cover the spread, but the best play by far for me is the Hawks team total. And the reason why is when you go and you look at what the Hawks have done recently, and let me just pull it up for you because I did want to show this. They've scored 120 or more points in each of their last 3 games. The only game they didn't was against Charlotte, but ever since, whether it's New York at home, Milwaukee on the road, Minnesota at home, they're just scoring a ton of points right now. And you can see where I am encouraged from the scoring alone from the Hawks that they can put up a ton of points, and add in the fact that they're playing against the Wizards, who are a dreadful team right now. I like the game over, but I prefer the Hawks over. So give me the over 122.5. It's only minus 115 right now. If it goes up to 123, I'd still take it. 124, we're getting a little closer to where we don't have enough of an edge where we want to take that play. But I think at 122.5, 123.5, you're well within the range where it is a good play. And as I mentioned, if you want to go after the game total as well, I don't hate it. It's literally just the fact that this deep rotation that the Washington Wizards are running, I get they're tanking, but we just don't know if they're going to play their star players enough to where they can put up the points to get to this 120 total or 114 total that we need for them to hit an over. So that's really my only concern here in terms of taking the game over. Now you could see 130, 140 from the Hawks like we saw from the Pacers in the first game, but I'm not going to bank on that. I'm going to bank on Atlanta doing their thing, scoring enough points to go over the 122.5, and I think that's the best play right now in this game. And so the last play I wanted to get to is going back to the Denver Nuggets once again. And I'm looking at this total right now, 222.5. You can see it is already moving towards the under. And the big thing I wanted to point out here, and this is actually pretty surprising, you have Denver, who is 0-4 right now at hitting overs. So they're 0-4. Every game they've had has gone under to a margin of minus 8.1. And then you also have Minnesota, 1-2 with a minus 12 over-under differential. So both these teams are not hitting the over right now. And that's why I really like this total as an under. Game total under. And I think you look towards Denver and say, well, shouldn't they blow out Minnesota? Well, they also should have blown out Memphis on the road, and they didn't, right? They did blow out Oklahoma City, but still went under the total. They could have easily blown out Utah at home. They didn't do that. They are a much better team, as I mentioned last week, at home than they are on the road. And I really like this total under 222.5. This line probably goes down a couple of points throughout the day. I have it at about 210 to 211, 212 or so. I think that's the more acceptable range based on how these teams are playing and what we expect from both of them. I think Denver just handles their business on the road. I don't think they go crazy and score a ton of points. You see their team total for the Wolves is heavily juiced to the under at 110.5. And then, of course, the game total as well, pretty heavily juiced to the under at 222.5. I think this is a great spot to take an under. We've seen that Denver has not been hitting their over right now. They're still kind of, getting to the swing of things. Minnesota, same thing, not really putting up big totals. And that's why I wanted to highlight this data for you, because it is worth noting when you have two teams facing off against each other that are not hitting the overs. And it's still so early in the season. The books haven't quite adjusted yet to this new data, and they're kind of still working off what happened last season. This is a great spot where you can take advantage, and I really love this under at 222.5. And then let's take a look at the rest of the board to see, is there any other options? I was looking potentially at the Brooklyn Nets to cover their spread. It's more of a lean, but I don't love it. The data really likes the Indiana Pacers today. Now, again, I'm not going to say they're going to cover because I don't know. They've been great to start the season. Losing to the Bulls, not a great look as far as I'm concerned. And the Boston Celtics are obviously a phenomenal roster. So it's not a bet I'm willing to take right now, but it was one that, my data was kind of saying, maybe could be a play. But as it stands right now, I think these are the only plays that I'm looking at on the board. So as I mentioned, we are taking the Detroit Pistons to cover the minus 3.5. I do like it up to 4.5. We are taking the Atlanta Hawks to go over their team total at 122.5. I like it up to 124.5. And we're taking the Denver Nuggets and Minnesota Timberwolves to go under 222.5. As I mentioned, I like it up to about 220.5. So these are my best bets for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, bet smart and bet pinnacle. I will see you guys next week. We'll probably run into some player props. Now that I have even more data, about 2 weeks is a great spot to start looking at player props. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.